Right, hello and welcome back to yet another episode of Cars and Engineering. In today's episode, I'm going to be installing a Turbo Smart boost gauge. Stay tuned. Right, so as the intro suggests, I'm going to be installing a Turbo Smart boost gauge. Now, this is a fairly cheap boost gauge. This is a mechanical one, so it works off of a vacuum line, and you've got your ground, or your negative, and your positive. So they only illuminate the dial, they don't do anything inside. The vacuum line itself that goes on this brass fitting at the back does, but we'll get to that shortly. Now, this kit did come with a airline inside of it, but I'll show you something it didn't come with as well. So it comes with the necessary boost line, or the actual vacuum line itself. You know, if you look down here, you'll see that I've already run a silicone hose through the firewall itself. Now, on the Polos, or the right-hand side version from the UK, they come with a washer jet that goes through the bulkhead. Now, what I've done is I lubed up this silicone vacuum line and managed to squeeze it past where the washer jet is. So it's not crushed, it's not compressed, it still allows airflow. I've tested it when I fitted it the other day. Because it's the UK, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's pitch black outside, so hence we're in a garage, and that's how it is. That's how it is. So I didn't really have the space to show you how to route that. I'll show you where it comes out and I'll show you where it goes in down there. But instead of using this hose, I'm going to put that in a drawer, save for later. Don't really need it right now. So also with the kit as well, you get the vacuum line itself, and you get like a little holder. Now, something you don't get with the kit is this. This is a pod mount. So basically this can go in the cabin and look nice and neat inside the air vent on the right hand side of the driver. I'll show you that in a minute. Also comes with like a little hood as well, so it can sort of go up and over the gauge itself. I will be using that because on the rare sunny days that we do get, we just keep the glare of the sun off it. Now, originally I wanted I think it's an Indigo, or a New South Wales Indigo boost gauge, because it matches the dials on the Golfs and Polos, which is blue and red, like a blue dial and a red needle. But this is white and red, so it should match, it should be okay. Not too interested about that, as long as it goes and this goes up and down, that's all I care about. So that's the boost gauge. I'm going to show you in the cabin where it's going to go, and then I'm going to show you how to route it, how to wire it in, and then there we go. Right, so before we go anywhere, this is the boost line. As you can see, that's the same line there itself. That is from the actual manifold all the way to the actual wastegate or the diverter valve. Now, the one I'm going to be teeing off of, and it's controversial, some people might do it, some people will do it, is this fuel pressure one here. These clips have to go, they're going to be cut off, and then some excesses will be cut off. But this goes all the way down here, past these coolant pipes here, all the way down there. I'm not sure if you can see, but just behind the ABS pump itself, I don't know if you get to see it here, just behind the ABS pump is where it pops through. You can sort of see what's left of the grommet down there. It might be washing out a little bit, but you're going to have to take my word for it. It is down there. Let's put that there, see if that'll let it show. So it's just down there in the bowels of the engine bay. Now that comes out directly behind where the passenger sits. So imagine if the passenger is there, it comes out sort of just below here. So we're going to have to run it underneath the dashboard over here towards the driver's side. Right, before we do any more in the vehicle itself, I'm going to sort out the T-piece bit. These are cable ties I put around it earlier, so it doesn't fall anywhere into the engine bay itself. So as you can see, the boost line itself is quite stretchy. Now I want to get it so sort of free moving, so that can go there. I'm going to get rid of this line here for the moment. Right, so this is your T-piece, if it will load. So what we need to do is we need to add it in line, so like that, and then the boost cable itself needs to go on here because there's a little one-way valve just inside there. It's very important that the boost carries on that way, and this is just teeing off from it. Okay, so I can reattach this part here. Didn't really need to take that off. That's back on. That pipe is still in pretty good nick. I thought it'd need replacing, that's why I took it off with some of this stuff, but at the moment that looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do is, that needs to be like that, more or less. This stuff will fit on there. Pretty easy, but what I'm going to do, put that in there like that. So, just a little cut there. Got the wrong pipe cutters, these are the very rusty ones and the very old ones, so that's no good. But now we've got the split in the line, I'm going to use some of this. It's window and glass cleaner from Easy Car Care. No sponsorship. This is really good for rubber. I find it's easy to just sort of slide things in with it, especially with the rubber. A little bit in there, and this will go in, hopefully like a dream. So that's in that side. A bit there. Not a lot, because it's like a alcohol-based glass cleaner. It sort of evaporates into nothing, so you don't need to worry about being in the vacuum lines. Now, ideally, once you get this over these barbs, I think as long as it's airtight, it's not going to go wrong. I've never had it go wrong before. Well, touch wood, nothing in here will. So right, as this is a proof of concept at the moment, I haven't got any clips, so paper tie have to do. Put one there. So, also, my wire cutters are at work, so I'm going to have to use tin snips and a razor blade. That's the only thing about being a mechanic. Once all your tools are at work, they're never available to do DIY stuff indoors. So that's that, laying your tie up a little bit. What I can do is make sure I don't crush the diverter valve pipe. It's just very gently. They will tie them back over here, making sure they don't chafe on anything metal. You don't want that engine mount there to, or engine cover mount, which actually can do removing, to be fair, because it runs an engine cover these days. Exactly what you don't want to do is leave a nice sharp edge. So if anyone works on your car and they stab himself on the remnants of a cable tie, you don't want to be the guy that left it. So now it's all in place, we need to route the actual vacuum line itself. Ideally I didn't really want it coming through here too much because that is a water line and it does get warm. I know silicone does sort of keep it pretty, well, silicone doesn't really melt, it just sort of like goes weird. So it's not too much of an issue. I just didn't want it to be untidy. There is a nice gap under there actually. Let's feed it under there. Another crankcase breather. And look, let's make engine mount there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to remove that in the future. So all these hardline pipes there, I can sort of run it around like that. Now I don't want to cable tie anything just yet. I want to make sure that goes in there nice and neatly. So we've got a little bit of excess there, so I'll be able to pull it back through into the actual vehicle itself, because you don't need that much hanging off. That's when I can be nice and gentle with it. Again, you don't want to crush the pipe. I don't want to crush the pipe. Nice and snug, but it's not too snug that it's cutting off the circulation of the air going around the pipe or through the pipe. Again, we're not trying to get it too tight, we're just trying to get it on there so it doesn't move, it doesn't touch anything hot or sharp or spinning around. Maybe one more down here, just to keep it in check. There we go, so that's all of them together. Again. Blade. Now, there's one thing you don't want to do, don't drop cable ties in the engine bay, because they will no doubt find something red hot, melt, catch on fire, or make your car smell like hot burnt plastic. You don't want that. But I think road blades are a bit of a crap idea. What I'll do, I'll just trim them off of these for now, and then when I get the chance, I'll come along with the wide snips and get them flush. Right, so that's rooted there, that's on there. There's one more thing I've got to do. Again, it's just temporary because I ain't got the clips at the moment. I need to for some reason the fuel pump just primed. Don't know what that's all about, but that's on there now. Little cable tie to keep it all together, just while it's off the road at the moment and I'm waiting for parts. So they will be pushed on further. That's all rooted. Now all I've got to do is go back in the car, pull that vacuum cable back through, make sure it's not catching anything down here as well, make sure it's out of the way of everything. I'm pretty sure it is, but never going to hurt to check. Just make sure it's not going to hit any gear linkages, anything like that, because as it goes just down here, just down there, under there, and it disappears down behind the ABS pump, which is just over here. So I'm just going to check that, then I'm going to go back in the car, run it through the dashboard, plug it into the back of the gauge, and then we're going to work on the actual gauge pod itself inside the air vent. Right, so this is the vent itself. So this is the one we're going to be popping out. You can probably see it's already been popped out before, probably because there's some rivets behind it. Now, this cable here, this cable here, these were added in earlier. One is a negative, even though it's red, and one is a 12 volt, which is only 12 volt when the lights are on. So that's beeping at me, having a go at me to tell me the lights are on and the door's open. But if you put that in auto, should shut it up. Now you can find out where the 12 volt feeds are when you turn stuff on by using a multimeter. So yeah, one is ground, that's this one. It's just connected to like a sort of chassis mount itself. Just that one there, undone that bolt, and it's put behind there. So that's not going anywhere, that's nice and secure, that's a nice ground. I'm going to tuck that over there for a minute. Also put a bit of tape behind them so they don't burp themselves out anywhere they're not meant to. That can go over there. And then this live is going to the blue wire there. So what we'll do is, to get these out, you can go push it in on the 0, twist it, and it sort of pulls these little tabs in. So as you can see, there's a blue and grey wire there. It's and get that out of the way. There's a blue and grey wire there. It's been spliced into the side of it. Probably not very well. Not up to electrician grade anyway. You can see there's some others, but make sure you test it to make sure it is the correct one. So we know that is a 12 volt feed. If any doubt, have a look or ask a auto electrician or someone who's a bit more well versed in it. You don't want to dick around with these sort of things because these can cause car fires. So the cable is routed, it's gone from under here, it's going under there, it's going behind the actual fascia itself, and it's sticking back. It goes through here, under there, and under here. Oh, put the camera down there. Comes out from under there, goes above. It's cable tied underneath, so it's nice and secure. Goes up through the dashboard and then comes out here. Now the engine is running. You can see the engine's on over there, and there is a vacuum there now, so I can plug that into the back of the actual gauge itself and it should do something. So if we plug that in like that, so it's saying that we're on minus 20 psi at the moment. That's because the car is at idle, and look, if I rev it, it goes up. So I'm going to unplug that again, turn the car off. We'll be able to solder in the wires, but first we need to get this apart, and we need to turn this into a gauge pod mount. Now what we need to do is we need to take this from its standard form and make it into a boost gauge holder. So these can be quite tricky, these can be quite simple. What I've got to do is I've got to pop apart the side clips off the side. Now sometimes they like to reattach themselves. I'll turn that little arm off as well in a moment. So you just sort of need to pry these up. Should be using a pry tool, but so you need to pry that little arm off there. That controls the vent there. So you probably won't be able to use it anymore. But again, just pry these off. It's a case of going around the whole thing about 5 times. So I just need to put that in like that. Right, let me do this off screen because it's going to be easier for 2 hands and no camera. Right, so that's got it. So just got to work yourself around really. So keep that safe, you're going to need that in a moment. What you can do is you can open the flap there, because you're probably going to lose movement here. Right, so this is in the middle. You sort of just got to pull these bits apart gently, and like it will explode pretty much whatever way you do it. And then that's when this little guy goes in. So it goes in that way, so the pod is like that. Now you can glue these in, you don't have to, but I will be. Right, so before I super glue it in, I'm going to get the gauge and get all the wires and that through the actual gap itself. Now I know these can be quite tight. I can't remember the company I got this from, but I will put it down in the comments as soon as I'm able to. So we need to make sure it's sort of straight. Well, there we go, that is in the pod itself. Now the pod can go through there into that, like that. Now it's in there and I know it fits nice and neatly. I can run a little bit of glue down the sides, so I know it's going to stick in there nice and neat. Set for a moment, and I can get frame and put them together. moment. Right, so then using the bottom half, that's obviously where the gauge is going to sit. Using a stepper drill, I'm going to drill a little hole in the bottom here so I can run the cables up and the pipes to the actual gauge itself. So ideally you want to use a vise for this really, but I haven't got anything else. I'm currently filming this in a car at 10 o'clock at night in the UK, so it is what it is. So this is a stepper drill bit, it goes up in steps. I want to go to about 10 mil, I'd say. Probably a bit bigger, maybe 12, maybe even 14. But the good thing is you can start low, go high with these, and there's different versions. So just gonna make a little hole here. Right, so that's the hole made for the pipes and everything. You can see it there. So that's ready to have everything run through it. I can solder everything up, get everything going, and we can go from there. Right, so we're here now. The hole is there. Boost pipe can come through. Now there will be a flap in here still, like this. You have to run out through there, and then the flap has to be sort of semi-open. And then you have to come open these vents here, and you can fold the boost pipe out of it. Get it out of it. You want to leave a little bit of slack on it. Right, so this is a negative because it's got the big black plug on the end. Run that through as well. So that's coming out through that side. And then the positive, or the power cable, can come through this side. Now, I want to leave it like that. That's why I put some extra cable on it. That's negative, that's positive. And then on this one, we can then start to solder them onto each other. So, cut that end off. And then wire strip the negative first, and then we know where we're at. Fire up the old Ryobi soldering iron. It gets hot in like a minute or so, which is brilliant. And the negative actually comes tinned already. But what I'm going to do is going to wrap these around each other. Probably put a little bit more length on the negative wire. Well, it might not be re-tinned, it might be aluminium or aluminum wire, which obviously is great, but if we wrap them around each other like this, right, then that connection's ready to be soldered using the iron, without stabbing myself preferably. There we go, that's that joint done. Let it cool down for a moment, and then we can get some tape around it. Now again, with the 12 volt side, or the live side, cut that off, strip it, get the red side for the gauge, take a little bit more off of that. Pretty good to me. Right, don't need solder on anymore, can turn that back off. to be a bit of a pain. Normally you can get it through without them in, but I'm just going to have to just crack a couple of them out. All back together. Uncross all the pipes, and that's when you can tuck it all back here and back in the hole. So that's the boost gauge installed. So what we can do is turn the lights on. You can see the boost gauge lights up, turn them off, boost gauge turns off. Now we just got to make sure it runs still and everything's all good. That panel can go back on. Right, so this is what it looks like when you first start the vehicle up. Now, it will turn on immediately because of the, if it focuses, there you go, because of the automatic switch down here. If it was on like that, then none of the lights will be on, just be like that. But because it's got an auto switch, it tells you the Turbo Smart is on, all of the other stuff is on. We make sure to neutral, and then we can start her up. See how it immediately goes down? So it's sitting on, what's that, -20 psi, which is about right for a turbo. If you rev it a bit, I can't rev it too much because it's like 10 o'clock at night, well, 10:45 at night. I'll leave it like that. If I rev it, that's probably all I can get away with. The turbo gauge is working, everything's all good. Engine light is still there. Let's turn it on. Engine light is still there. Car's still got 160,000 miles on the clock. Original engine, original rods, original turbo. So it's doing all right at the moment anyway. Until the new engine goes in, then we'll be boosting our little nuts off. That will be doing its job. That's a little bit of skill with. I can still adjust that. That's good. Right. Well, the last thing to do is to peel off the protective cover, which really doesn't want to come off. That's off. So there you go, look, there's a Turbo Smart boost gauge. This is the car running, full of absolute crap and madness. The footwell. That's what happens when you have to film at 10 o'clock at night. Little snap-on tool. Other than that, that's all good, that's all done. You can try it yourself if you really want to. I'll put all the links in the description, all the parts used. Again, you don't have to do it the way I've done it. I've done it purely because it's easy, it's a quick little job, done it before. And there you go. That's it all fitted, that's it all sorted. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed if you're not. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, and it will eventually help you guys out because it's more money, more profit, more revenue, more content for your eyeballs. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. As always, take care, and I hope to see you in the next one.